Okay, we are recording now.
All right, well, great. Well, thank you everyone for attending today. Terry, thank you for being here. Got David Wood, and Mindy. I'm sorry, I forgot your last name.
Humphrey,
Mindy Humphrey. Cabot Dow is also in attendance. He is Cabot Dow and Associates, a consultant that's been working with the city on a number of projects. He specializes in labor negotiations, HR management, and among other things. I'm sure I skipped something, Cabot, but he's here today because one of his specializations is compensation in employment as well, and his analysis is supporting.
Where is he today?
Right up there, Cabot's up there. Yeah, upper left-hand corner of the screen.
Oh, upper left.
Yeah, that's Cabot.
From Clyde Hill,
Washington. Clyde Hill. Okay.
Yeah.
We have our deputy city manager here, Laurel Brock, and then Naomi Fay, who's our acting city manager, city HR manager. Sorry. Yeah.
/ city clerk.
Yeah. So thanks for being here. The city is in the process of this year. We've been focusing on compensation, looking at market comparisons across all salaries across the city of Mill Creek. And we didn't want to leave out the council side of it as well. So that's what we're addressing. It's been 28 years since their salaries have been increased. And so we
need an increase.
Oh,
is it working?
I don't know.
I don't know. The light came out all that.
It might be possible that only one of those mics is working in there tonight because of batteries.
Hello.
Yeah, that one works.
Yes, we can hear Mindy. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's only the ones that are green that work.
But also, we should also.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
We did this informally, but they need to appoint a chair.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
We didn't get roll call, did we?
We didn't. Because.
We'll do it then.
Yes.
Okay.
I can call roll. Martin, would you like me to call roll?
Yes, please.
Okay. Terry Ryan?
Here.
Mindy Humphrey?
Here.
Robert Wood? I may have said it wrong. David Wood, correct?
Yes, I'm here.
We have 3 members present. Carmen Fisher is absent.
Next step would be to nominate a chair and vice chair for the committee.
So the chair would be the one who's facilitating.
Okay, the chair would be the one who's facilitating the discussions, and then there would be a vice chair who would support that chair. So it'd be either Terry, David, or Mindy.
Does anybody want to nominate someone? I nominate Terry.
Yeah, he's had a lot of experience.
And I know it's mine. Okay. Do you second the motion, David?
You second the motion.
I'll second the motion.
And all in favor? Aye. Okay, Mr. Ryan,
Aye.
the chair of the Salary Commission. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, vice chair. You have to nominate either David or Mindy, right?
I'll do it.
Okay. You want to
I'll
nominate?
nominate you.
Thank you.
David nominates Mindy
Mindy
Humphrey. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Terry. Confirmed.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
You're getting this, right, Asa? For Mindy?
I'm sorry, but Zoom is having a hard time picking up.
So Mindy was nominated, pardon me, I was looking at vice chair, sorry. Mindy was nominated as vice chair and we voted for her. Is that what you were looking
Yes,
for?
I understand, but I need people at the table to speak into the mics because the mics are not picking up very well.
Oh, I see. Sorry, I misunderstood.
Testing, yeah, it works. There you
That's
go.
better. Thank you.
That's, we have limited wireless mics. So Martin's going to sit over there. This one keeps cutting out and that's why you didn't hear anything, Asa. Thank you for your patience, everyone. So we have a chair.
Okay, now we have a chair and vice chair. Can I move on?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, again, thank you all. Now we have a, as you all know, the city of Mill Creek is a council manager form of government. The council members, all 7, are key advisors to not only the city manager, but the deputy city manager, as well as the leadership team. And which is one of the reasons why it is imperative that we move forward with a study to determine if a increase is due to these council members, the salary. So thank you. So some of the key facts I'm going to cover, and Asa, can you pull up the PowerPoint, please? And I'll just go from there.
That's just one moment, please. It should be sharing now. Is it there?
It is. Thank you. Yes. Next page.
Oops. Ah, sorry. There we go.
The agenda for today is just a brief history. I'll just go over the ordinances really quick. The commission responsibilities, commission responsibilities, and these were established by a recent ordinance that we passed on September 6th. We'll go over some data provided by Cabot Down Associates, as well as another source of data is the matrix that covers hourly time that the mayor pro tem spends on a monthly basis to give you some idea of the time. And then we'll cover the timeline, give you some idea of what's going to happen in the next month on a very high level, and then any questions that you may have at the end. So a little bit of history. There are 2 municipal codes in 1989, Ordinance 89-208. 2 components to that is those 2 municipal codes that you see up there that set the council salary at $500 per month back in 1989, and the mayor's salary at $700. In 1994 actually started at 400 in 1989, but it actually increased in 1994 to 500 with the mayor's salary at 700. And as I mentioned earlier, it's been 28 years since 1994 that those salaries have not changed. I also mentioned that September 6th, the council did adopt ordinance 2022-883 that allowed us to establish that independent salary commission, the reason why we're here. So here's some of the commission responsibilities. And I'll give you a little bit more on this as well. A little background on the actual commission membership. I'll just give you a little background on, based on that ordinance that was passed on September 6th. I'll give you the key highlights on the membership requirements. We already established a chair and vice chair. The commission is consisting of 5 members. Once the salary review is complete and the salary schedule has been filed with the city clerk, that's when the commission ends. Or if there is no salary adjustment that is appropriate and you decide not to go forward, it will end as well. No member may be appointed to more than 2 terms on the commission, whether or not those terms are held consecutively. So responsibilities, to study the relationship of the salaries of the duties of the mayor. Now, initially, the salaries only include the mayor, and then the rest of the council actually received a separate salary. The mayor pro tem was not originally part of this. So what we're looking at now is to actually look at the mayor pro tem as a separate salary as well, which will include those costs, understanding the costs that were personally incurred by council members as well in performing such duties. And that's where we bring the hourly estimations in. The B will study the relationship of the Mill Creek Council salaries to those salaries of the council members in surrounding cities, city jurisdictions, and other current market conditions. And that's where Cabot Down will come in and provide you that background. Now, we did, again, provide another matrix based on Mr. Wood's advisement on actually looking at the hours that the mayor and mayor pro tem spend on a monthly basis. C, we will, another responsibility is to establish a salary by either increasing or decreasing the existing salaries. So should you decide the salary should decrease, that's an option as well. So, but that's part of the ordinance. So of course we are emphasizing that there probably should be an increase. And D, to review the file, to review and file a salary commission schedule with the clerk no later than November 1st, and that's our goal. There will be planned 4 meetings throughout the month of October. Now, we don't have to go that far. Should we decide, or you make a decision sooner than that? I mentioned a little bit about the ordinances already, 89-208, which was established back in 1989, and also 2022-883, which is the recent September 6th ordinance to allow us to establish this commission. So I'm not going to go into too much more detail about that. I don't think there's anything else that is necessary there. So Asa, can you please, no, we go back, sorry. The comparable city salaries you saw in your packets, the analysis that Cabot Dow did. There's a lot of information there. Cabot will provide you a little more detail. So Cabot, can you take it away?
Sure. Would you like me to share my screen in doing this?
It's up to you, whatever you prefer.
Okay.
I would prefer that if possible.
Okay. I think that makes sense. So what I'm going to do here is share this screen I have. Can you see the screen?
We can, thank you.
Okay. So my background is largely working with public sector agencies in compensation. I go back to a role as an assistant city manager in Bellevue. Before I got into consulting, I set up the first HR department in Bellevue, and I worked as a consultant for Bellevue up until 2016. And so I say that because I'm a council manager trainee, so to speak. And I have a background in public administration. I have a master's degree in public administration. And I'm heart deep in working with cities. So my role with cities now is largely compensation studies that are associated with a variety of positions, all the way from the city manager, administrator positions, all the way down to the part-time seasonal, worker, and working with the unions in establishing through the collective bargaining process of reasonable, competitive wages, hours, and working conditions. So that is to say that I do very little evaluation up to this point in time of key advisors and policymakers. For example, I feel totally qualified to apply the principles of fair compensation, market competitiveness, and what is associated with establishing compensation. However, I want you to know that I'm not an expert in saying what a council member or a mayor, should get paid. So I'm kind of a data-driven person in this environment, and so this screen I'm sharing was my attempt when I was asked to expand my capacity with the city in this compensation area to vacuum the landscape as far as the council manager cities. One of the statutory criteria that we typically use in comparing compensation is like personnel of like employers with like forms of government. So by narrowing the field from the database that's available to us, and this all is very readily available data, we can narrow the field pretty quickly to the council manager cities that are located in the state. And then similar size sometimes comes into play, of course, in determining compensation. That's the statutory requirement that's set up for police officers and firefighters by the legislature. And so to a certain extent, I think similar size has some relevance here. And so what I did was, after I made this list of cities, put in the resident population, put in the salary for mayor, the salary for council member, was put a check mark on the cities that you might say are more similar in size to Mill Creek. And because it's reasonably proximate in geography terms, which is often a market consideration. It seemed fair, like City of Covington, City of Kenmore, City of Maple Valley, City of Montlake Terrace, City of Newcastle, City of Woodinville are really pretty good matches as far as cities are concerned for this kind of a study. But that isn't to say that the data that pertains to cities like Bothell, Des Moines, this next tier of cities, Lacey, Mercer Island, and so forth, are not just as pertinent. So this data collection of these cities will give the commission, I think, a good frame of reference for what these other cities are doing currently. And I show here the average of all of the cities is $1,200 a month for mayor and $1,019 a month for council members. And if oftentimes we use the median to wash out the outliers, which is also shown, $1,300 a month for mayor, and again, pretty close to $1,000 a month for the council member. Now, as far as the mayor pro tem is concerned, I only had one data point at the current time, and from my experience, is if you want to compensate mayor pro tem, it's not so much what others pay; it's finding a sweet spot, between the mayor elect and the council member that somehow represents the relative responsibilities and time that's necessary in that capacity. One other thing that I started to look at, and then I'll turn it over to the chair, was the a matrix that would be associated with the position. And so can you see the screen or do I need to new share?
I can see it.
It says framework for issue assessment worksheet, Mill Creek Salary Commission.
And we do
Yeah.
have one that was completed by the council members, if you'd like me to bring that up.
Oh, I think that would be excellent because you know how much time is spent in these various capacities is pretty relevant. And then this hourly discussion I find pretty fascinating because we think in terms of per hour compensation often when we're doing these kind of studies. So I will stop sharing. I guess you can take over, right? Good.
Yes, is it there? Does everybody see it?
There it is. Take it away.
Well, I was just going to share this for the.
Okay, thanks, Asa. So as you can see here, we had the mayor pro tem put together the hours that they actually put in. I think it's on an average basis, and then what they estimate as a council member as well. You can see here there's approximately 28 hours spent. I believe it's a monthly basis, right? 43 for the mayor, then 45 for mayor pro tem.
That's per month.
Yes, sir.
So per week, that would be what, 10 hours?
Correct.
Well,
Approximately.
actually a little less than 10 because, there's more than 28 days in a month, right? So.
What about the time they have to spend reviewing? I'm sure a lot of documents that are going to come up for consideration on their own time, not in a meeting.
Well,
is that considered?
I'm sorry, pardon me for interrupting. Please continue.
Yes.
They accounted for that time in there for reviewing documents, and that is under periodic, and also prep for CM is prep for city council meetings, for council meetings. So they added that like maybe 3-hour prep for each council meeting. So an hour per meeting is an average. And they also considered time of going back and forth through emails, responding to citizens. It's hard to say the exact number because it's really contingent on each council member and how much time that they do put into it. So this is just an estimate in the amount of hours. It could probably be more. This was conservative in a way. And for the council members, what we did was that there were 3 council meetings per month.
Only 3, not 4?
Not 4, unless there is a special meeting. But I will tell you from November to January of last year, we had a meeting every month, every week in a month. So we did have 4 meetings a month. And especially during budget times, if we needed a special meeting, if there were retreats, we put it in a special meeting. So it's kind of hard to tell if you were going to average in terms of every week or every month, because some months it could be a lot, and other months it's maybe, say in August, we didn't have any city council meetings.
So sum total, how many meetings would there be per year?
36.
Have you figured that out? I mean, 3, 4, I can't, I'm trying to figure out what's the
At
annual.
least 30. Well, I'm sorry.
30.
No, 33.
Maybe
least
it would be
33.
helpful to just see how many meetings we had last year total at some point. Would that help? Just to see how many meetings they had?
Any typical year. It should be a typical year. How many meetings?
36 meetings
Minus
for the
3.
whole year, give or take, maybe a special meeting or not. And that's not counting any of the special meetings, only the meetings that are, we can say 36 because August, we don't have any meetings. So we could say maybe 3 meetings out of that whole year is a special meeting. So by average, maybe 36 meetings.
But everybody gets some time off. So I would say the month that they don't have meetings is their vacation. Huh? So we get paid during our vacation typically, do we not? How much, what is the annual budget in millions, just roughly?
Oh, go ahead.
36 million? That should be considered, shouldn't it? If you're making policy for $36 million a year, that's part of their job.
And that, of course, would be a metric that would be easy to put in the spreadsheet. You know, if there were other metrics that the commission felt were pertinent, that helped the commission evaluate this issue.
Just to let you know, so I did serve on the council for 17 years. These hours are probably about right. I know I gave considerably more than 43 hours a month. Of course, it helped that my office was directly across the street from City Hall. So I got pulled into a lot of meetings because I was available. And nobody expects to make a living as a city council member in the city of Mill Creek, right? So we viewed it, frankly, as basically a donation of time. And everybody understood that. Everybody understood the council members make $500, the mayor makes $700. It hasn't changed in X number of years, which you've already identified. So it's nobody expects these to be full-time employees. Nobody expects it to be a certain amount of dollars or $100 of dollars per hour. No council member runs for office based on that. It's people that love our community. They want to give time to the community, and they get compensated a nominal amount. You know, the idea of the budget, that is relevant. But remember now, the primary job of the council is to manage the city manager. The council doesn't manage the city. We hire a full-time person. That's why we don't have a strong mayor form of government. A strong mayor would literally, they do the hiring, firing, interviewing, whatever, and they work in conjunction with the council. But in a weak mayor form of government, which is what we have in Milk Creek, we set the budget, we hand it off to the city manager runs the city. That's the way it is. So nobody expects the mayor to call somebody to get the snow plows out in the winter, or to fix a water main break in a street, or a police crisis. That's the city manager's job. So it's not a direct correlation to how much per hour times X hours. I do want to say that I think the hours here are probably about accurate. When I was mayor for 4 terms, the mayor pro tem, there's no way the mayor pro tem put in more hours than I did. And there's no way. And I know the current mayor pro tem is very involved. And so I'm not questioning these numbers, but I'm just saying the mayor gets called into a lot of things, like on a regional level, if there's a cities and towns meeting. But these are all volunteer. Nobody expects to be paid to go to a city and towns meeting, or a South Snohomish County towns meeting, or cities and towns meeting. I was on the fire board for 17 years. I never expected to get any extra money to go to that, even though I was on that fire board attending all those meetings for 17 years. I was on Snohomish County Tomorrow, which is a land use advisory committee to the Snohomish County Council, for 13 years. I never expected any mileage up to Everett and back, or to be paid for that. I did it because I really cared about our community. And I wanted to make sure that what was being built around Mill Creek ideally would look something like Mill Creek. So just to give you just some background information on what the expectations were when people ran for office, and then they actually won the election. I don't think everybody knew what the salary was when they ran for office. I just wanted to give you that context and backdrop. I do think the numbers are a little bit light in Mill Creek. And I think as this conversation progresses, I think it would make sense to pay particular attention to what does the committee think that the most likely comps are. And we used to always base it, like for the city manager, we used to base the city manager's salary on comp cities that were similar to Mill Creek. And so that's when we're getting ready for that part of the conversation, I'd like to speak again. Thank you.
I'd like to say something. I do appreciate your perspective on the past. It's probably a very valuable look back, but a lot of it could be also your individual motives, your own morality, so to speak, and your willingness to give without getting paid. I spoke months ago, years ago, about wanting to compensate the councilman to attract the best and the brightest for this community. And I'm not saying that we don't have that now. All I'm saying is we need to have a salary because there's time involved here. I mean, there's a commitment. You have to run for office. You have to talk to citizens. You have to post all kinds of stuff around town to get elected. And you have to sit through a lot of boring meetings. And I'm saying boring. I mean, we all know that it gets tedious. But nevertheless, hard decisions have to be made and directions have to be given to the city manager. He's got his job. We're not going to do his job here. We're doing a policy-making job. And I want to see them fairly compensated. I want to see really good, smart people attracted to this job. So I do feel that they're way underpaid. And I think you want to have, this is a relatively well-off community, and the whole region has got fairly high salaries compared to the rest of this United States. I think we're fourth or fifth in the country. I think the average income per household was in the newspaper published 111,000. Well, that's just the average. Mill Creek is not an average city. It has some average aspects to it, but it's more affluent than a lot of cities. So I think we have to consider the scope of things like the total budget, 36 million. Is that a 2-year or a 1 year? Okay, so what's a 1 year? 26? 26, I thought it was 26 myself.
That sounds awful high.
26 million, okay. Okay, 26 million. That's what I thought.
Well, pardon me just a second. So are you saying your biennial budget is $52 million?
26 million per year annually. It's a 2-year budget, so it's 52 million.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought somebody said 32 million earlier.
It's 36 general fund.
Well, you got capital improvements. Well, that's still money. Mm-hmm. You got to make a hard decision. Okay, and the hours worked, we're talking about 43, approximately, plus or minus. I think there's probably more to it than that, but. And the number of personnel we have, what's the budget total? Even filled, unfilled, or both? About 100?
No, about, I think it's currently about, what, 60?
It used to be in the neighborhood of 82. How many, do you have any unfilled positions?
Correct.
How many?
3 to 4.
Is that all? But we have contract services.
Correct.
Fire?
No. We contract with fire department, now part of the fire district. It's out of the city budget.
I spent a lot of years at the city of San Diego as a budget analyst and as a supervising analyst and as the deputy director. So I used to know these numbers by heart, you know, so that's, pardon me if I'm pushy in that regard. Okay.
Well, that data is easy to pull up because Association of Washington Cities shows that in some nice spreadsheets. So if the commission wants to see, you know, number of full-time employees for any city, you want to see a number of part-time employees, that's available.
Okay. We have a population of about 21,000, right?
Correct.
Okay. So I estimated 16 hours per week. That might be a little heavy. I figured an average 111,000, but I think more should be more like 120, to be honest, for this community.
Hold on just a second. So didn't the council members' own numbers show that the average for the mayor was 43 hours per month and council members 28?
I think it said 43 and 45. Is that right?
Well, the 45 was the mayor pro tem self-reporting.
Yeah, that's right.
And council members were 28 self-reporting.
That's correct.
Okay.
Is the slide back up on the screen?
28 hours a week? A month, excuse me.
Yeah. Yeah, because it says monthly council, 10.5 for the council meetings, prep for council, boards, commissions, other meetings. You add it all up, the council members, that's 28 month, on the average, 28 hours per month. Mayor 43, and the mayor pro tem self-reported 45.
Didn't they also
per month?
The mayor and mayor pro tem.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, can I'm sorry, David, were you done? Are you taking a break?
Well, yeah, I think I'm done.
I'm sorry.
I formulated a strategy. I mean, I just took a percent of 120,000. So you would have to take that and number that they work. Let's just say it's 7 hours divided by 40. I don't know what that is. 7. That's point something. And then you would have, what is it? 0.175. Multiply that times, well, if 120,000 a year, that would be 10,000 a month times 10,000 a month. That would be like, what? $1,750 a month for a councilman. Do they get health and benefits, sick leave, travel expenses and all that? And that's paid?
No.
They have to pay that themselves? That should be paid. They don't? No health? No.
Most people get health through their full-time jobs. It's always been the thought process.
Yeah.
I think there, David, I think there was one exception to that. Years ago, one of the council members in Bothell said, you know, we didn't want to raise our wages. So the city put us on their medical plan. So that's a consideration. One question I had, if I can, So one city that's conspicuously absent here is Mukilteo. I didn't see them on your chart, Cabot. Did
They're
you?
not a council manager city. That was the reason.
Fair enough. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And by the way, you are correct.
But
I know Mayor Murray real well. Yeah.
I do have at the bottom of that spreadsheet all the other cities, including Mukilteo, that have different kinds of compensation set up for their mayor and their council, but it's not really apples and apples.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when we talk about comps, let me tell you, having negotiated with on behalf of the council for the city manager position.
Yeah.
This is back at one point, we had whatever, let's just say 15,000 residents. It may have been 12,000, I can't remember. So the city manager would come in and inevitably give comps for cities of 49,000 residents, 50,000 residents.
Yeah.
And it wasn't believable. Right. So we would end up saying, here's the comps the council is going to consider. And then we would work out a fair pay based on, as I remember, from kind of let's say you find 5 great comps. We would maybe take the average of the 5 cities. That was my recollection.
Okay.
So I want to look at these comps here, and Cabot, by the way, I know you real well. I know you did a great job for us when I was at the city of Mill Creek and
thank you.
Employee negotiations and whatnot. I'm really glad you're involved in this.
Thank you.
You seem to put, I believe you put X's by the comps that you thought were pretty good comps. And what I noted from what you put an X by was Covington, Mount Lake Terrace, Kenmore, Maple Valley, Newcastle, Woodinville.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So one way to look at this, and I by the way, my screen just went black. Oh, here we go. I got you. One way to look at this, we've already looked at the hours, and I can just tell you, you get what you get on a city council. So some people, I think this is a good average of the hours. I know council members that put in less, and I know council members that put in more. And I witnessed it for 17 years. And we had a lot of council members come and go through the years. So this is probably a pretty good summary of the hours. So what I look at is the comps of similar cities and what they're currently paying. I'm not saying we have to do that, but an exercise to go through would be to take all the cities that Cabot is X'd off here. And again, Covington, Mount Lake Terrace, Kenmore, Maple Valley, Newcastle, Woodinville. If you add up all of those mayor salaries and divide it by the number of cities, what is that average? The only one that reported anything on a mayor pro tem, I think it was one city, and it was only one city. And so most of the cities I don't think they pay the mayor pro tem any more than what council members get. And we could, I think Cabot mentioned earlier, we could split the difference on that. And then also I want to know, what are the council members, and I couldn't because, by the way, I apologize. I didn't know we were meeting in person. I thought everybody was on Zoom. I'm at my house in Mill Creek. I could be down there in 10 minutes, but I know we're trying to get out by 7. So thank you for accommodating me via Zoom. Next time I'll be in person. But what is the average of the cities that you X'd for the mayor and the council members? And then I think we split the difference between the council and the mayor. I just want to know what that would look like.
Well, I can show you if you're interested. I just did this while you were talking. I could share my screen if you want to get into that level of detail, because I do have it in front of me right now.
Well, yeah, and I'm not saying this is necessarily the end game, but I think it's because the council judges the city manager this way and our employees that way, I think it's fair to at least look at the council this way.
Okay, so if we were to do an average, there you go for the mayor-elect. And then it's 1,043 with those particular cities, which I just sorted. You can see the X's all together. And $900 or so for the council member. That appears to be the average. I know that Covington throws it off a little for the mayor.
Excuse me, just a second. Yeah, let's just look at the cities that are have an X by them. Okay, because I mean, there's only one of these cities in the council members that makes more than $1,000. So I don't know how the average could be 900. So if you look at, and Kelso isn't X. So let's just look at Woodinville, Newcastle, Covington, Mount Lake Terrace, Kenmore, Maple Valley. What is the average of those cities?
Okay, so see G6. Okay, so the average of the mayor is 886. And the average of the council member is 768.
Okay, but I got to tell you, the city that's closest to us, frankly, in my opinion, it's Snohomish County, not King County, is really Mount Lake Terrace. And so it appears as though the city of Mount Lake Terrace is $1,000 for the mayor. The council members actually get it when it says 2022 salary per month. Is that council members? What is that column that's in yellow there?
I'm just,
because you got a column for mayor, you have a column for mayor pro tem, and then you have 2022 salary per month.
That's council member.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just, by the way, my brother's a city council member in Mount Lake Terrace. I just texted him to ask him what they make per month. I'd be surprised if the council member makes that much or that close to what the mayor's making over there. But we can verify it. Anyway, I thought it'd be a good exercise to just look at that. You know, since our mayor's already making 700, I have some thoughts as to maybe what would be fair in the end. And again, my apologies that I'm not in the room with my other salary commission members, and I will make sure I'm there next time. So, I mean, if you look at the city populations, and there's different ways of looking at this, right? You can look at that. You can look at the size of the budget. And most people look mostly at probably general fund, because like, for example, some of these cities might have their own water department. Well, we don't have that. So you'd have to extract that out of their budget. I mean, if we want to compare apples to apples.
Well, that's why I think, if I pardon my interruption, but that's why I think the total annual expenditure of 26 million covers things that we don't run, but we are responsible for paying for. That might be a fire department. I think we do pay. Well, is that paid? We don't manage that at all, do we?
No.
It's a contract.
Yeah, correct.
But there's work goes into managing a contract, I can tell you. You want to make sure it's done.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah,
but you don't want your house burnt down, right?
Yeah, but David, I want to tell you, I was on that fire board for the joint fire board between Mill Creek and Fire District 7 for 17 years, and we didn't manage it. The city manager manages it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We do manage it then. And the council has to make sure the manager's managing it. If he doesn't, the council has to get on him or her. I
Sorry,
just think
working my
none of these
calculator.
cities are paying their councilmen enough personally. It's a responsible job, and it's like I'm afraid it's being described too much as an ego trip. You know, I'm doing this because I want to be a hero in my city. But I think if we paid them, we would really attract talent rather than just wanting to be a hero. I think we want somebody who can do a good job.
Yeah, no, agreed, David. And by the way, just to be clear, I wasn't even implying anybody wanted to be a hero. It's not that at all. What I'm saying is that, you know, it's largely been run by people who just really care about our community. And some people have different skill sets. Like I come from a business background. If somebody has never operated a business or never paid a payroll or had to take a pay cut so that they didn't have to lay employees off, they don't come from the same place, right? They have a different understanding, or sometimes maybe even a lack of understanding of big time finance. But they're still valuable, right? But for example, if to your analogy of the budget, if we had 7 people that really had never done budgeting in their life, that wouldn't be a good balance on the city council. And I can tell you, when I was on the council, it was hard to recruit people. And I went to people that were really successful, some right here, obviously all Mill Creek residents, and they just said, well, I could never work for that. I said, yeah, don't view it as work. View it as giving something back to the community, no different than donating time at a Boys and Girls Club or a senior center or whatever. But it was hard to attract it. But the thing is, you're not going to get a doctor or an attorney to come in here, even if we doubled it, even if we tripled it. So the council members were getting $1,500 a month. You're not going to attract doctors and lawyers. And I'm not saying it should only be doctors and lawyers, but what I'm getting at is we're never going to be able to pay enough to get what people with the experience that I think that you're alluding to is what I'm getting at.
We're setting pay. We cannot set, I guess, what I'd call the motive or other than that, the willingness. We can't create anything beyond the pay status. People run for office for all kinds of reasons. I just feel that paying a really fair, generous wage might attract better candidates. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that we haven't, but I'm not sure that we have.
I see. So, actually, if I can, by the way, so Mindy, do you have any thoughts, or are you just kind of absorbing this right now?
I'm just taking it all in. I definitely think that they need a raise just due to how long it's been since they've had one. I feel like if they were worth $500 in 1990, then they should be worth more in 2022. You know, even if it's a token or, you know, whatever it is, a token from 1920 is no longer a token in 2022. So I think there is something to just compensating for it's just showing their value, that we value them in the community and that these are people that we are trusting with our city. And again, I understand there's no benefits, there's nothing like that. You're running to volunteer in your community, really. So I do understand that point, but I also understand David's point about just determining their worth in terms of what was determined in 1989. I feel like that set the precedent In 1989, they felt like they could do 400 for a council member and then raise it to 500 in 94, whenever that was. So just following that precedent, I would say it's time to up the stipend. So that's how I feel about it.
Yeah. And by the way, I agree. Okay. I'm not trying to make a case for not increasing it.
Right. Of course.
What I'm trying to say is these aren't full-time jobs. They're never going to be full-time jobs. If we want to make them full-time jobs, then we could just simply change it to full-time council members, full-time mayor pro tem. I don't think the city's big enough for that. I don't think the budget warrants such an increase because you're going to have staff for all that. So I'm not proposing that either. So the question really is, what's like you said, could even be a nominal increase. You know, it could be something, could be, so I think it's not enough. I think it should go up. So the question is where, and I'm just giving you some insight as to what we did at the city. For example, when the finance department wanted to go up a pay band or whatever, we would hire somebody to do a study. What do finance department people make in other cities? Comparably sized cities, not Seattle, not King County, but comparable sized cities. And we would do things, that's how we would do that. And it'd be this no different for the police department or the public works people. So that's why I wanted to just kind of segregate these. Cabot's the one that put the X's on these cities. I didn't. They appear to be, you know, you got a low here, population-wise, the city of Woodinville, pretty affluent city. Resident population 13,450. You got a high here of Maple Valley of 28,920. But that's not, you know, that's, so what is that? That's 7,000 people greater than Mill Creek, but I think that's a good span. You know, you're never going to find a perfect one, but I think if the city closest to Mill Creek, in my estimation, would probably be Mount Lake Terrace, because it's Snohomish County. You've got City Kenmore's in King County, Covington, they're not in Snohomish County, Newcastle isn't, Woodinville's King County. So I think the closest one is Mount Lake Terrace, but I did want to, that's why I asked the question though, is looking at all these other cities that have the X on them in the yellow box, what are they currently paying their mayor? What are they paying their mayor pro tem? And what are they paying their council members? And if we could just have the average of that, and it looks like he just did that, the mayor average there is 855. So the low on that is 600 at Newcastle, which actually is kind of shocking. But, and then the low on the council member here is 500. And that also is Newcastle. Another way to do this, what we used to do is literally throw out the lowest number and throw out the highest number. And what does the average look like then? And then, so that's another way of looking at it. And I think if we just look at numbers like that, continue our conversations, I think it's unlikely that we're going to come to a conclusion. We're already 3 minutes over our time allotment, but I think it's going to take a couple of meetings. I don't think it can't turn into a full-time job for us either, right? So, I mean, yeah. Really, but we have a job to do. I would think we could wrap this up in 3 meetings. And really, I do coach high school soccer at Jackson. So if there's a conflict with the meeting, I'll let you know. Because I'm not going to shortchange the girls.
You know, Mr. Ryan, I want to make one thing clear. I am 100% in favor of the city manager system. I'm not trying to increase the pay of council to obviate the need for a city manager. I really believe in that system of government, 100%. But nevertheless, I do feel I would like to see Mill Creek have the best paid councilman for the size of our budget and the size of our population. I want Mill Creek to be an outstanding city, and I want to have outstanding councilmen. That's my goal. And I don't care what other cities do. I care what we do. I'm not trying to compare us to any other city. There are some nice cities. I mean, I see Bothell doing one hell of a job down there. I see, I don't know. Mercer Island is beautiful. University Place is nice. But I think Mill Creek is uniquely beautiful and small, but I think it needs to be, you know, special. I'm not afraid to pay a little extra for a council member.
Aren't we also towards the top of Snohomish County income wise? And correct me if I'm wrong. Mill Creek. Yeah, the highest assessed values of our
property,
homes and that kind of thing. So I think that it makes sense for us to be on the higher end of the scale, just because we, you know, you're not comparing apples to apples with the different cities in Snohomish County.
Yeah. So to that point, Mindy, look, I remember when I was trying to talk to a Snohomish County council member who represented us when I was mayor, and talking to other cities and go, oh, you got a golf course, or you guys got a bunch of money. And the difficulty with that is it's not the assessed valuation, right? It's the levy rate. So
it's the what, Terry?
It's the levy rate, right? So what that means is, let me give you an example. Let's just say, and I'm just going to give you a fun example or a nightmare example, however you want to look at it. Let's say your house was assessed at $800,000. And the next year it went up to $1.6 million, which it would never increase that much. I'm just giving you an example. Some people might think, oh my gosh, the city's getting twice as much money. But it isn't, because the city council sets the property tax rate. And so if for example, if the budget increase is let's just pull a number out of the air. Let's just say the budget increase is like 3%. It doesn't mean that all revenues increase by 3%. For example, your general fund is property taxes and sales tax. Well, if you raise your property taxes, your sales tax isn't going to go up by the same percentage, because it's a totally different beast. If the city says we're only going to raise the property tax by X%, that's the levy rate. So it's the levy rate times your assessed valuation. So if the assessed valuation goes, you know what, I'm going to save this for our next meeting, because I think it would really give you some insight. Because just because a city might have very high home values, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're bringing in as high a percentage increase in revenue.
And that actually wasn't my point that was brought up. My point was just, well, we can talk about it next time, because also I know we do have one of the highest sales taxes in Snohomish County, do we not?
I think we have one of the highest in Washington.
So there are different factors go into it, but I'm very curious to hear more about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and not only that, but when you look at the sales tax, what is the city percentage versus, you know, the RTA versus the state portion, et cetera. So it's pretty, I guess what I'm trying to say is there's no simple answer on it. And I think it'd be good for us to understand that. It's a good exercise to go through. You know, your property taxes, if you look at it, most of the money, frankly, goes to the fire district. Now that we've annexed into the fire district, that's where most of the money is going to go to, in the school districts. You know, and then there's all these different, and then the county gets a portion, not as much as the city. But anyway, and And by the way, I just think it'd be better to do this in person. And I'm looking forward to seeing both of you at the next meeting.
Yes, you too.
Chair Ryan, can I make a quick comment before we?
Sure, of course.
So one thing to consider maybe, and it's not related to this hourly, the matrix or the comparisons, but maybe consider what the projects that we have moving forward as well. A lot of things that the cities will be working on. And we were coming out of a pandemic. The city's rebuilding. We're seeking council's advisement on a lot of things that we're doing now, purchasing equipment. Next year is a big year, the 40th anniversary. And there's a lot of things we're going to need advisement on how to bring the city back to what it was. We have the DRCC properties that were in the planning stages coming very soon now. So educating our community on the sub area. Another key piece to advisement that we're going to be seeking. We're just along coming out of the pandemic in itself comes a lot of things that we're going to be working on, not just operationally, but on the strategic side as well.
Are you going to build a community center? We really need that.
Council will be working amongst each other with our planning consultant to revisit those DRCC properties.
I wanted to talk to you about it, but that's our biggest unmet need. We don't have a community center. We don't have a place where 100 people get together.
Yeah, by the way, when I was mayor, we were going to partner with the county and do something up at McCollum Park. Regarding the properties, and I know this has nothing to do with the salary commission, so we're just kind of a little off topic, but regarding the properties that we bought behind the sports park, those were bought specifically for more ball fields. And we had a drawing that would show 2 full-size ball fields, parking for 100 people and public bathrooms.
We're very excited to see that.
Yeah, and the problem is the crash hit, right? And so we thought that maybe that would cost us like $4 million, but I think the thumbnail number was like $7 million, and we're going into the Great Recession, and everybody thought, you know what, we should put this on hold. And I said, well, whatever you do, don't sell the land. You never sell your assets, right? So, David, I'd love to talk to you about that. The community center, I have some information because I did a lot of homework on that when we built the town center. City staff wanted to build a community center in the town center. And I've got a lot of information for you. Might be helpful for you.
Have you seen the new community center in Edmonds? It's not on the list here. Yeah. It's something we should envy.
Yeah, no, but again,
it's beautiful and it's brand new.
Agreed. The Rose Hill Center is awesome, but that's outside of the scope of our work, right? Our scope of our work is the salaries. But I'll tell you, you want to put together a study that. Sounds like that. I don't know if you guys.
Is that in council chambers?
That's not my house.
Sounds like a printer.
Or a vacuum.
Or a vacuum. That won't be my house.
So when's our next meeting?
Yeah, so if we can pick if we want to just pick up the next date to meet.
I am headed to Parents Weekend at Syracuse on Thursday, so I would like to meet before then if possible.
I'm going to be leaving town on Tuesday next, and I'll return on October 27th, I believe. So if you don't want me at the next meeting, put it in that period. I'm a troublemaker. I'm like John Lewis. You remember him?
Yes, I do.
I mean, Congressman John Lewis made good trouble.
Okay, like David, when are you gone?
I am gone the 13th through the 21st, but I can also come in via Zoom if need be.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
Okay, and David, I apologize, I couldn't write fast enough. My pen lost its ink, so I got a new pen. So when are
You're
you
gone
gone?
the 11th, correct?
The 11th through the 27th.
Through the
I'll be
27th.
in Hawaii.
Woo!
Yes.
Well,
Aloha.
David, the least you could do is invite the rest of us.
Yeah.
So let's do this because ideally we're trying to wrap up by the 1st, right?
Correct.
And so David, you're gone the most. So what is today? 7th. Let's see if we could we. This is a quick turnaround time, especially for cabinet and staff. But could we meet on Monday? Isn't Monday the 10th?
Yes.
That is Indigenous Peoples Day. Are you open or is the city closed? Okay.
I don't know. Could city staff?
We're working.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know
that works for me.
October 10th, Monday.
Yeah. Do you want to go 6 to 7? Does this work, Mindy, for you and David?
Yes.
Yeah, that's. I'm leaving the next morning. It's not good, but I'll come.
Okay. So David, let me ask. I've been through this enough. I really don't think we're going to conclude it on Monday. I wanted to ask, would it be possible for you to participate via Zoom or call in when you're in Hawaii for maybe a third meeting?
I have no idea what kind of connections I'll have over there.
You could give it.
Well, you have a cell phone, right?
Yeah, but I'm not proficient.
Oh,
I'm too old.
no, you're not. Come on now.
We hear you. I hear you.
I might be able to hook up. I don't know. I can't promise you. Anyway.
Well, let's do this. What we can, would you have email access over there?
I'll tell you what I think. I think $17.50 a month would be fine. I'd do go more, but I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I'd say $2,000.
Okay, let me just ask something. So, David, would you have email access in Hawaii?
I
or
do.
Not?
I will. I hope.
Okay.
I hope so.
Okay,
Yes,
so here's what we could do. City staff could simply email you before you leave the contact number to call into our meetings. So even if you didn't have Zoom, you can still participate via phone. And all you need is a cell phone or a landline.
that sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, no, because it's important you be there. And I want to make sure, frankly, I'm a little envious that you're going to Hawaii. But
Only costs money.
Yeah, I know. So, but I want to make sure that everybody, and Mindy, same thing for you, right? So if somebody can't make a meeting because of family emergency or something, then we'll make it work. We'll move it to another day where the three of us can be together.
Okay, great.
Okay, but I'd like to be on record. I'm for somewhere between $17.50 a month and $2,000 a month.
Okay.
A little
early
more for the mayor.
A little early for that, but duly noted. And I wrote it down.
Okay.
Me too.
Great. Thank you. I look forward to, so are we set for next Monday at 6 p.m.?
Yes.
And will that work okay for city staff?
Yes, that will work. I will contact the two other commissioners. And for OPMA laws, we will need at least 24-hour notice to just post that we'll be meeting. So we can post tonight, and it's not business days, it's 24-hour notice.
Yeah, and listen, sorry to ask you to do this on a Friday evening.
Thank you. Paul Heisa, who is the other commissioner, is not available on Fridays, just an FYI. He actually said either Tuesday Wednesday or Thursday were the best days for him. But I know that you're accommodating Mr. Commissioner Wood right now, right before he leaves.
Right.
Yeah.
And Mindy's leaving 2 days later, right?
Right.
Correct.
Yeah. No, we want to respect that. No worries. Hey, I'm just curious. I don't know if I should ask this, but so Mindy, so obviously both of you live in Mill Creek, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Actually, I'm not going to ask what neighborhoods you live in. I've doorbelled Mill Creek 7 times. So I know
It's
almost
easy.
every house.
I'm Holly and you're Evergreen, right?
I'm Evergreen. Yeah, I live in Evergreen.
Okay, great. I probably have doorbelled your houses in at least 7 times. Anyway, we have listen, one thing that we all share, even if we have a little bit difference of opinion as to what direction where we should land on this, we all love our city, right? And we know that because you volunteered, and we do want to keep Mill Creek great. It's you know, I can tell you every mayor in Snohomish County's wanted a town center. We're the only one that ever delivered one. And there's more coming. There's more coming, but we were the first and the only one that has a town center. And that's kind of the pride and joy. It turned Mill Creek from a bedroom community into a self-functioning city, self-supporting city. So we just want to, we share the same common goal that we want to keep it great.
Right on.
That's a great closing, but okay. Chair, are you going to adjourn?
Yeah, unless the other commission members have anything they want to say.
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful weekend.
You too.
So our meeting Monday night.
Monday.
Bye.
Yes.
Okay.
Bye, Terry.
Bye.
Good night. Thank you.